Welcome back to the lab. Apologies about the camera quality today. I will get on to that. We've had a crack appear in the lens. Not good, but I'll sort it. BMW. So, I think I did say yesterday there was going to be some progress on this. Not much progress, Glenn. Made a power cable. 2 power cables, actually. That one goes from that terminal there down to the alternator. Can we see that? Yes, we can see that. There you go. And then there's another one that goes from there, goes around, and goes to the starter motor. So we now have starter motor power, and that coincidentally provides the power to the Wiring Specialties harness. So the ECU has now got power from the car through the correct paths rather than running a jumper cable or whatever. We still have to supply power from the key, etc., to turn it on when we turn the key on, but that's supposed to be taken care of by that harness, but there appears to be a couple of things missing to actually make that work, so I'll sort that out. It's no big deal. Started to, I know I said I wouldn't until I got all the terminals, all the pins to go inside the plugs, there's 2 of them. Started to shorten up these wires to get the harness to the right length. I only had 12 terminals that are like $1 each or something, which is no big deal. Just nobody in town has them. I had 12 myself, so I got that far, and that's as far as I can go. We'll just wait for the rest of them to arrive that were ordered, and we'll deal with the rest of this pasta that's hanging around, excessive lengths of harness. Like I say, it's not a gripe with Wiring Specialties. They are building them quite clearly for putting the ECU over there, which is quite a bit longer path than from there to there. You can see if, well, my fingers don't stretch quite that far, but we're going that far. That's twice as much at least to get to that side of the car. If you live in New Zealand and you know Hamilton, you'll know that these things are quite important in Hamilton, because we're such good drivers here in Hamilton. I'm not sure if this one wore out from lack of use or overuse, but either way it stopped going. So I fitted a new one to the ute. Just bought some off the shelf off Repco. It looks like that might actually be the exact same horn that was in there. So hopefully the new one, I had a choice, right? Low frequency or high frequency. So I put the low one in at the moment. Normally you would have 2 horns in a car. There'd be a high and a low. So it was kind of raining on and off today. So I smashed in the new one. It started raining, so I put it all back together and come inside. But I'll wire up the other one, fit that as well tomorrow, I think. We've got some fresh oil to put into the motor. The oil that's in the motor at the moment on the March is just some cheap, nasty stuff that I had lying around. It was 20W50 or something, which is completely the wrong grade. It's quite thick, but that's fine. It actually helps it for the initial start. So I'll clear that out of it as much as practical. I won't get carried away. And we'll fill it up with 5W30. We'll do the initial test runs and everything on that, and then we'll change it to the fancy racing version of this oil. There might be a container kicking around. Hang on, let's have a look. Fail. That's not what I thought it was, so that's not the stuff that I'll be running, but it is the brand. So, right, so we're running Penrite from this point on. There's that boot noise that everyone loved. In here, nothing's happened today, except I've been staring at some bars and thinking, probably need to move a couple of those bars if we're going to go to all this effort with everything, especially if I'm going to paint the body, change the colour of the body, then I need to sort out a couple of little things that are going on here. So the original install of the engine would be that engine turned 90 degrees and dragged backwards a little bit, so it was miles away from the bars. So the bars were all set up to suit the seats that we were going to run, and they were perfect for that arrangement. Since then, obviously, the engine's gone from here, it's turned and it's gone that way, it's gone forward, and the seats have moved. The passenger seat has gone forward, and then it's had the bottom end scoot forward and the back come back at the top to try and keep the harness bar in a sensible angle for the seats. So the seats ended up quite a long way like that, so that we can get underneath the under the seat with the drive shaft that runs front to rear inside that tunnel, beside the tunnel there. Originally, when I put it to four-wheel drive, I tried to run it with a 3-piece rear shaft, and that just wasn't working out. So then this has been all chopped and changed. There's still some evidence of that, to lift this piece here up quite a long way from where it was. And obviously that lifts the whole seat up, and that's why we've tilted it from being quite vertical. We've tilted it back to drop the back down to keep the harness bar, which is there, at a reasonable height compared to the seat. It's at the point now it wouldn't be a bad idea to shift that. And back here there's a couple of things going on that make it even smarter to move that. We can do that. We need to do a official Motorsport New Zealand approval type deal to shift bars around and stuff like that. I built the cage, so it's no big deal, but there is a little bit of paperwork to do. So this spark plug number 5, the one in the middle of your screen right there, under that bar, you're already figuring out, well, it's not quite under the bar, it's very, very close to being under the bar. That is a little bit of a nuisance to get that coil pack in and out because of where this diagonal is. The diagonal can be higher up at the base than what it is there. You're allowed 100 millimeters from the base plate. We've got, I'm going to guess at 30, just looking at it from here without measuring. A little bit more, 45, 50 to the center line of the bar, but 30 to the very bottom of the bar. So we can lift that bar up. From here, we can go up another 70 mils higher. You imagine that 70 mils more clearance over that cam cover would be awesome. That would actually enable us, we would be able to pull the cam covers, both cam covers off. We could change camshafts without pulling the engine out of the car and stuff like that. We can't at the moment, but if we shifted this harness, this diagonal, then we definitely could. So we can lift up that harness bar as well while we're at it. No advantages in the engine bay at all doing that. In fact, I have to make a new bracket on the catch can. Won't change anything. Make the center of gravity higher. It's not going to be a big deal, and it'll be heavier because it'll be a longer bar, but that's not a big deal either. So not really any advantages there other than making, or disadvantages, but making the seat harness angles better. Same with driver's side, except we've got the added advantage driver's side. Our inlet plenum is directly underneath that one. So if we can lift up that harness bar by a little bit, then we can get a better design of inlet manifold / plenum onto there and make it easier to get it in and out. The driver's seat, looking at it from here, if you look from the bottom of those holes where the harness goes through to where the harness bar is, looks a lot worse than what it actually is. Currently, with that sitting exactly where it is there, it's actually 20 degrees. I think the maximum with a harness device on is supposed to be 15. That seat, I'm pretty sure, normally sits one hole further down at the back than what it is at the moment. So of course you drop the back end down and it tilts back as well, which throws it even further. So it's not terrible and nobody's moaned about it or anything like that, but it probably should be moved just to try and keep everything as good as we can, as safe as we can, optimal, etc. So there's a couple of advantages here moving those bars. I think it absolutely would make sense to lift at least the harness bar, that one, not a lot, 25 mils probably would be all it would take, and that'd be significantly better for the design of the intake manifold. Pardon me, got hiccups. And if we shift that diagonal in the passenger harness bar as well, might as well. We're kind of halfway there to do it. It's a big job to pull that firewall out, but I think it's probably a pretty good idea. Right, So I didn't run up the engine. I was thinking about doing that today. I was going to do a lot more on this than what actually ended up happening. I spent a bit of time trying to find our terminals to sort that out so I can get it done as quick as possible, but it kind of brickwalled me and didn't want to happen. But I couldn't pressurize the cooling system to check it before I put water in it, because that fitting there is a bit hard to see on my screen. That T fitting, AN10, I need a AN10 45 degree push lock hose end, and I don't have any. I've got straights and I've got 90s, so I couldn't terminate, I guess you'd say. Couldn't terminate that part of the system, couldn't come from wherever it is there through here up to the other side. On the other side of there, you might be able to see the back of them actually. There's a couple of riv nuts there, 1, 2. And normally I put a little water tank, a small water tank up here, just to stop the air bubbles running around the system. If there's any air bubbles that come to the highest point in the engine system, hopefully they run up to there and go into this tank rather than circulating in the engine and having hot spots, etc. Not so much of an issue now with our, I think they were Tomy head gaskets in there and block guards and all those things. Hopefully that's got that all under control and we won't have any problems with that. So it might be just a case of just running the hose up here somewhere, anywhere, and just having a cap in the end of it. I can just crack it open and bleed any air out of it. And a reasonable length of dash 10 hose will hold, you know, a few mils of volume, 100 mils, 200 mils, something like that. So that should take care of it. Okay, cheers for watching. Tomorrow I'll put in some effort to try and achieve something that's a little more viewer friendly. Maybe we can see if we can get the cooling system sealed off. I'm sure the guys in town, won't be Speedflow, it's another brand, but never mind. I'm sure the guys in town will stock what I'm after there to sort that out, and we'll pressure test it with air first, then we'll do it with water, and pressure test it with water, and then hopefully if we've got no leaks, we're not too far away from just hook the battery up, turn the key and run it up to temp and see if we've got any oil leaks and all that sort of carry on. Okay, cheers for watching. Thanks, bye.